All alone in the dark room, the pathetic virgin Yoichi can't sleep because of the wonderful watermelons on his phone. He can't stop thinking of the bodacious woman and is about to beat his hammer to relax, when suddenly he has a thought. Is this really alright? Even if it's a guest house, I don't think it's nice to use my pickaxe so soon. Plus, there's a strong chance Hana-chan would find out because of the scent. Will she really forgive me if that was the case? He wonders. Mustering the bravery of 1,000 soldiers going into war, Yoichi decides not to beat his banana and goes right to sleep instead. He dreams peacefully of the bodacious woman's bakery and her giant cakes. The next morning, Yoichi is embarrassed while talking to Hana-chan. The bodacious woman tries to console him, but he wishes he would die right then and there. It turns out that Yoichi's pickaxe had been activated in his sleep, which resulted in an embarrassing accident. This pathetic display of desires makes Yoichi wish he had just beaten his hammer in the first place, while the bodacious woman only keeps consoling him like a child. She explains that she was grateful Yoichi didn't want to choke his chicken, because he was in someone else's house, so she would never give him a hard time because of that. Besides, I'm used to seeing these things, she finished. Before Yoichi could ask the meaning of that statement, he is instantly distracted by Hana-chan's resemblance to the girl in the picture again. Yoichi takes a day off from college to buy some new clothes, which is strange because didn't he say all he had inside his wallet were broken dreams? Anyways, the loser Yoichi is dressed like a desperate beta as he talks to his mom and tells her not to worry about coming to the guest house. He gets on a bus back to the guest house and continues fooling himself into thinking that he can turn his life around and repay Hana-chan for all her hard work. He returns to the guest house and sees Hana-chan talking to some new customers. Not wanting to be a burden, he quietly passes them, but the bodacious woman drags him into the manga panel and introduces him as her husband with an age difference of 16 years. There is a hard silence amongst the four of them before Yoichi tries to clear up the misunderstanding. It doesn't help one bit because the shirt he's wearing literally says Yadori Guest House, which the guests have interpreted to mean that he works here with his wife, Hana-chan. But eventually the bodacious woman laughs it off as her latest prank and encourages the guests to come in. She tells Yoichi not to be a shy piece of shit and instead greet properly when he gets back home. The bodacious woman wastes no time in cracking open a few beers for the new guests. It seems this woman really loves drinking, Yoichi thinks as he watches her enjoy the alcohol so quickly. The guests leisurely talk about their married life, and the wife is eager to show off her engagement ring, talking about how she takes care not to scratch it while doing chores. The husband doesn't see much of a big deal as he assumes his wife would just ask him for a new one soon anyway. The wife and the bodacious woman quickly bond over how clueless the husband really is. The bodacious woman explains that women cherish the things given by their loved ones until the day they die, and her insightful statement intrigues Yoichi. Feels like you two came here after hearing the rumors, starts Hana, returning to the conversation. Of course, the guests have no idea what she's talking about before she leans in to whisper something into the woman's ear. The woman's face immediately flushes a deep, cheeky red, implying that Hana has just said something rated 18+. Later, Yoichi finishes his bath, still occupied with thoughts about the bodacious woman and her inebriated attitude. He hears some muffled sounds from the room next door, which must be the new guest. He squeals like a mouse when the bodacious woman barges into his room, bringing back the clothes that the pathetic virgin had once stained with his erotic desires. Yoichi decides to use this opportunity to get some things off his chest before they hear some sweet sounds coming from next door. The voices get louder and louder, and it appears the guests are singing songs of praises while performing some exclusive, rough, horizontal cowgirl activities right next door. The bodacious woman is excited for theme as she explains to Yoichi about the rumor she talked about earlier. It appears that this particular guest house, for some strange reason, gets all the guests in the mood for some wrestling. Therefore, a lot of the locals occasionally arrive here to become blessed with children. Although cleaning up after them can be quite difficult, chuckles Hana. Yoichi now understood what she meant by her earlier statement, saying that she was used to seeing dirty things. Hana gets into a naughty mood again and asks Yoichi if his original request was to see her big pumpkins in the tight dress. Yoichi stutters again like a frigging beta. Oh my god, can this kid just get a grip? Hana pushes him again, before he finally decides to respond. "I wanted you to show me your tongue," says the cheeky virgin, revealing he has a tongue fetish. His audacity shocks the bodacious woman. Of course, he only says this as he knows his request will be denied, and so the bodacious woman would stop asking him questions. However, he starts panicking and hoping Hana-chan would not consider his statement as sexual harassment. But to his absolute surprise, the bodacious woman only shrugs her shoulders and moves closer to him. "What the hell is happening?" wonders Yoichi. Staring at the bodacious woman's eyes while hearing the songs of the guests in the other room makes Yoichi's heart beat faster. The naughty woman crouches on the floor and opens wide for Yoichi. Yoichi takes in the texture, size, and movement of her naughtiness. She puts on a show for him and says something, but Yoichi can't understand her one bit. His pickaxe is now harder than Mount Rushmore. After the show, the bodacious woman promptly excuses herself and suggests that if Yoichi wants to beat his hammer, he shouldn't stay up too late. She heads to the bathroom and pulls out her tongue piercing, wondering why she put it on in the first place. Meanwhile, the virgin is about to fall in love with a woman from just tongue play. The next morning, the bodacious woman is already at his door with an expression that wants to talk about more dirty thoughts. She asks Yoichi about his sleep last night, but the virgin is actually afraid, seeing that he beat his hammer so hard last night that it damn near came off. He is worried that the bodacious woman can smell the result of his erotic desires, but actually she is referring to the guests from yesterday. She shows Yoichi how flirty they are at the dining table this morning and mentions they went 4 rounds in their boxing match last night. 4 rounds? Squeaks Yoichi. "I guess that number's too much for a virgin," laughs the bodacious woman. It seems she is beginning to realize how pathetic Yoichi really is. However, Yoichi is still thinking about the melons and the tongue from last night. The bodacious woman suggests that Yoichi quickly find a girlfriend so they can come to the guest house and fulfill their own horizontal activities, assuring that she would support them all the way. Hana bids the guests goodbye, wishing them thousands of more boxing matches in the future and several children on the way. Her crude, outspoken manner makes Yoichi wonder about Hana's own mother. Did she even have one? Speaking of the devil, a gilf appears. With a squeaky voice, Hana greets the woman as her mother. Yoichi's virgin mind starts racing once more. Does this mean this woman is Itsuki's grandmother? Then she must at least be above 50, right? Is this what they call a GILF? He wonders with anticipation. The woman scolds Hana for her rude and outspoken manners, especially as Hana is already 34, while Hana has no choice but to apologize in a Japanese way. Soon, the woman turns her gaze to Yoichi. Instantly, the pathetic Yoichi is aware of lousy, despicable, ragged behaviors all this time. Surely a woman like this will kick him out as soon as possible, and let's be honest, he deserves it. But in contrary, she greets the virgin with respect, thanking him for looking after Itsuki and Hana. Yoichi is surprised by this gesture, as he can't remember the last time he was treated with respect. Hana comes in between them, ushering her mother to go to bed as she was part of the night shift. However, her mother explains that the guest house is fully booked and Hana possibly can't complete all the chores alone in time, which will in turn inconvenience their customers. Hana is overwhelmed by her mother's logic, and Yoichi is shocked to see that she is so quiet. I cleaned the bathroom with Hana-chan once. If you don't mind, I can help you," he offers politely. Later, the grandmother explains some ground rules. "We have 5 hours from checkout until the next customer's check-in. First, we clean up the trash. Then, we replace the sheets while working as a pair. Don't screw this up." "Roger, Roger," beeps Yoichi like a hapless idiot. While cleaning, Yoichi admires the grandmother's grace and form, but most importantly, he appreciates the juicy, bouncy melons that are similar to Hana's. Such melons must have been carefully crafted generation after generation. "Hey, keep your hands moving, you twat. We don't have a lot of time," orders the grandmother. "Sorry," beeps Yoichi again. Later, Yoichi is surprised to find a small microphone under the covers and hands it to the grandmother. The woman is utterly disgusted by the brand of this microphone and orders Yoichi to trash it immediately. Yoichi is a bit surprised at how different Hana is from her mother, because Hana would have absolutely played with the toy microphone before tossing it out. Here you can see the pathetic Yoichi is exhausted only after a bit of work, while the grandmother is still in a composed state. How typical. Nevertheless, she thanks him for his effort, no matter how small. The grandmother also mentions that Hana usually does all the chores alone in the guest house as Itsuki has run away to live a secluded life in the university. Yoichi is a bit mad that his friend never did chores in the guest house, and for abandoning his family in such a critical time. What about the meals? Isn't everything too impossible for Miss Hana alone? Asks Yoichi. The grandmother explains that her husband is in charge of the food at the guest house, as Hana has no experience in cooking. However, she mentions that Hana can cook a little bit of fish and that was her only source of pride in the kitchen. Yoichi remembers the day the bodacious woman took him out for fishing and enjoyed that delicious meal. The grandmother mentions that Hana worked extra hard to make it, but the virgin wonders why the bodacious woman would go through all that for someone she just met. Later, Yoichi awakens to some sounds in his sleep. When he completely comes to, his head rests on the thick thighs of both the grandmother and the bodacious woman. Too excited to speak, he closes his eyes again, pretending to be asleep while wondering if this is virgin heaven. The two women talk about Yoichi while he is pretending to sleep. The grandmother praises his efforts and his gentle manner, proud that her grandson had found a useful friend. LOL. He might not look it, but he's a real piece of shit, Hana laughs, as she tells her mother how much of a pathetic, desperate, virgin, scumbag Yoichi really was. Oh God. Please change the topic. Please, oh please, says Yoichi, praying within himself. Hana exaggerates a little bit, mentioning several times where Yoichi couldn't stop staring at their succulent pumpkins, and about the time he asked to see her tongue because apparently he has a tongue fetish. The grandmother is disappointed, and Yoichi is furious. Now, the grandmother's previous reputation of him has washed down the drain. The grandmother instructs Hana to hand Yoichi over to her for the time being, so he doesn't cause any trouble at the guest house. Finally, someone worthy enough to knock the pathetic laziness out of this virgin. However, Hana states that their mother only wants Yoichi to replace Itsuki as she has been feeling extra lonely these days. Then, Hana firmly snatches Yoichi away and buries him under her swollen watermelons. I'll never give him to you, cried Hana, pulling Yoichi tighter into her balls of love. Yoichi is now convinced he is truly in virgin heaven. As the two women fight over him, Yoichi wonders if this was all a dream. If it was, he prayed to God to never wake him up. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the next part. Also, make sure to check out our other parts on the channel.